5 foods, all of them mentioned in Scripture, all of them eaten by ancient people who lived without hospitals, without pharmacies, and without supplements. And all 5 of them are sitting in a research database right now, being studied by scientists who keep arriving at the same conclusion. These foods work, and almost nobody is eating them anymore. Here is something that stopped me completely when I first read it. The people described in the Bible, the ones who crossed deserts on foot, built stone cities with their hands, and raised large families without a single modern convenience, they had access to something we have almost entirely forgotten. Not a supplement, not a pill, not a program. Food. Specific food. Named in Scripture, grown in the ground, and eaten daily for thousands of years by people whose bodies performed at a level that would put most modern diets to shame. Today, I am going to show you 5 of those foods, and I want to be honest with you right from the start. I had heard of some of these, but what I did not know, what nobody told me, was what these foods actually do inside the body after 50. The science behind them is genuinely shocking. And the fact that Scripture pointed to them thousands of years before any laboratory existed is something I still think about. Stay with me, because food number 3 on this list was used in one of the most dramatic healing moments in all of Scripture, and researchers have since discovered it contains a compound that behaves almost identically to a prescription antibiotic, without the side effects, without the cost, and without a single trip to the pharmacy. Welcome to Bible Remedy, where ancient Scripture meets modern science to show us that the answers to our health have often been there all along, written down long before we had the words to explain why they worked. If you are a woman over 50 who is tired of conflicting health advice, tired of expensive supplements that promise everything and deliver very little, and ready to go back to something ancient, something proven, and something that has sustained human health for thousands of years, this video was made for you. Let us get into it. Food 1. Hyssop, the purification plant nobody talks about. Most people have never heard of hyssop, and that is exactly why it is first on this list. Hyssop appears throughout the Bible in some of its most significant moments. It was used in purification rituals described in the book of Leviticus. It appears in Psalm 51, one of the most personal and raw passages in all of Scripture, where the writer cries out, "Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." For centuries, scholars read that as purely spiritual language, a metaphor for forgiveness, a poetic image of being made new. And then, researchers actually analyzed hyssop. What they found changed everything about how we read those ancient purification instructions. Hyssop contains 2 compounds called carvacrol and thymol. These are the same antimicrobial compounds found in oregano and thyme, 2 of the most powerful natural antiseptics ever studied. Laboratory research has confirmed that hyssop extract inhibits the herpes simplex virus. It has documented antibacterial and antifungal properties, and its expectorant compounds physically loosen and clear mucus from the lungs, which is why it has been used for respiratory infections across cultures for thousands of years. Here is what makes this remarkable for women over 50 specifically. After 50, the immune system begins a process called immunosenescence, a gradual slowing of immune response that makes infections harder to fight and slower to recover from. The antimicrobial compounds in hyssop do not replace your immune system, but they support it. They give it something to work with. They create an environment in the body that is actively hostile to the bacteria and viruses that prey on a weakened immune system. When the ancient world used hyssop to cleanse, to wipe down surfaces, to use in healing rituals, to add to food and medicine, they were not performing empty ceremony. They were applying a genuine antimicrobial agent. The instructions worked because the plant worked. Hyssop tea for respiratory infections. hyssop added to cooking as an aromatic herb, similar to thyme. A few drops of hyssop tincture applied topically to minor wounds. This little plant was doing real medical work for thousands of years, and it is still available today in most health food stores for just a few dollars. Food 2. Pomegranate rind. The part everyone throws away. Here is the knowledge gap I promised you, and this one genuinely surprised me. Almost everyone knows pomegranate is healthy. The seeds are beautiful. The juice is sweet. Pomegranate appears throughout Scripture as a symbol of abundance and life. It was one of the fruits brought back by the spies Moses sent into the Promised Land in Numbers chapter 13. There were carved pomegranates on the pillars of Solomon's temple. But here is what nobody tells you. The most medicinally powerful part of the pomegranate is the part everyone throws in the bin: the rind. The dark, bitter, leathery outer skin that most people peel off and discard without a second thought.
The pomegranate rind contains a concentration of tannins, ellagic acid, and polyphenols that is dramatically higher than the seeds or juice. Traditional healers across the Middle East, the same region where pomegranates have been eaten for thousands of years, have used dried pomegranate rind tea for centuries to treat diarrhea, intestinal parasites, and inflammatory gut conditions. Modern research has confirmed every one of those traditional uses. Studies have shown pomegranate rind extract has potent antimicrobial properties against a wide range of gut pathogens. Its anti-inflammatory compounds specifically target the gut lining, which is critically important for women over 50, because gut inflammation after menopause is directly linked to joint pain, brain fog, weight gain, and immune dysfunction. And here is the connection to Scripture that I find impossible to dismiss as coincidence. The pomegranate, rind included, was listed among the sacred foods of the Promised Land. It was carved into temple architecture. It was worn on the hem of the high priest's robe. The ancient world did not separate the fruit from its rind the way we do today. They used the whole thing, and it turns out the whole thing was the point. Dry the rind, grind it into powder, steep it in hot water for 10 minutes. What you have is one of the most anti-inflammatory, gut-healing teas you can drink, made from the part of a fruit that most people throw away every single day.
Food 3. Barley, the grain that outperforms every modern supplement. I told you food number 3 would surprise you. Here it is. Barley is not exciting. There is nothing glamorous about it. It is the grain of farmers and laborers. When Scripture describes the feeding of 5,000 people in the Gospel of John, those loaves were made from barley, not wheat, barley, the cheapest, most ordinary grain available. And it turns out that the most ordinary people in the ancient world were eating one of the most extraordinary foods ever studied by modern nutritional science. Here is the knowledge gap. Most people think of barley as a soup ingredient, something you add to broth on a cold day. What almost nobody knows is what barley does inside the body, specifically inside the body of a woman over 50. Barley contains the highest concentration of a fiber called beta-glucan found in any grain on Earth. And beta-glucan is not like ordinary fiber. It has been studied so extensively in so many clinical trials across so many populations that the FDA in the United States has approved a specific health claim for foods containing it. That almost never happens with a natural food compound. Here is what beta-glucan actually does. When you eat barley, beta-glucan forms a slow-moving gel in your digestive tract. This gel does several things simultaneously. It slows the absorption of glucose, meaning your blood sugar rises more gently after meals, which is critical for women over 50 whose insulin sensitivity has decreased. It physically binds to LDL cholesterol in the gut and removes it from the body before it can be absorbed. Studies show barley outperforms oats in its effect on cholesterol, and oats are already considered one of the most heart-protective foods on Earth. And it feeds the specific strains of beneficial gut bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids, compounds that reduce systemic inflammation throughout the entire body. For women over 50 managing blood sugar, cholesterol, joint inflammation, and gut health simultaneously, barley addresses all four in a single food, that costs almost nothing, that has been available for thousands of years, that Jesus used to feed a multitude. The fishermen and farmers who ate barley bread every single day of their lives were not eating it because they had run a clinical trial. They were eating it because generation after generation, they watched what happened to people who ate it versus those who did not. And the ones who ate barley bread daily lived well. Food 4. Figs. Isaiah's prescription that science finally proved. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning, and I want to tell you the full story because most people only know half of it. In 2 Kings chapter 20, a man named Hezekiah is dying. The text describes his condition as a severe boil, what we would today recognize as a deep infected wound or abscess. He is told to prepare for death. The situation is described as hopeless. And then Scripture records something remarkable. The prophet Isaiah gives an instruction, not just a prayer, a specific medical instruction. He orders a poultice, a paste, of figs to be prepared and pressed directly onto the infected wound. Hezekiah recovered.
For centuries, that story was treated as a miracle, and nothing more. The figs were seen as symbolic, perhaps a sign of God's provision, perhaps simply the means by which healing came. The figs themselves were not the point, most readers assumed. And then modern science analyzed figs. Figs contain an enzyme called phycin. Phycin is a proteolytic enzyme, meaning it breaks down protein. Specifically, it breaks down the dead and damaged tissue that accumulates around infected wounds and prevents healing. It creates a clean environment for new tissue to form. Laboratory studies have confirmed that fresh fig latex inhibits bacterial growth. The antimicrobial compounds in figs, including benzaldehyde, have documented activity against the exact type of bacteria most commonly found in infected skin wounds. Isaiah's prescription was not symbolic. It was biochemically precise. The poultice worked because figs contain compounds that do exactly what Isaiah used them for, cleaning infected tissue and creating the conditions for healing. But here is what makes figs exceptional for women over 50, beyond wound healing. Figs are extraordinarily rich in phytoestrogens, plant compounds that gently interact with estrogen receptors in the body. After menopause, when estrogen levels drop significantly, the symptoms that follow, hot flashes, mood changes, disrupted sleep, bone density loss, are directly linked to that hormonal shift. Phytoestrogens do not replace estrogen, but they occupy some of the same receptors. They soften the transition. Traditional women across the Middle East have eaten figs daily for thousands of years. Modern research on phytoestrogens and menopausal symptoms is still developing, but the traditional observation was consistent across cultures and centuries. Figs were considered a woman's food. There turns out to be more to that than coincidence. 2 to 3 fresh figs daily, dried figs year-round. The prophet Isaiah knew what he was prescribing, and so did every woman in the ancient world who reached for figs during the most significant hormonal transition of her life. Food 5. Black garlic, the version of garlic nobody knows about. Most people know garlic is good for them. Regular garlic appears in Scripture in one of its most emotionally powerful food moments. The Israelites wandering the wilderness break down and weep, specifically mourning the garlic they had eaten in Egypt. Numbers chapter 11. They missed garlic so much it made them cry. And if you understand what garlic actually does inside the body, that grief makes complete scientific sense. But here is the knowledge gap. Here is the version of garlic that almost nobody is eating and that has a nutritional profile so dramatically superior to regular garlic that the comparison is almost unfair. Black garlic. Black garlic is not a different plant. It is regular garlic that has been slowly aged at low heat over several weeks, a process that was practiced across the ancient world long before anyone understood the chemistry behind it. The aging process transforms the allicin in fresh garlic into a compound called S-allylcysteine, a water-soluble form that the body absorbs significantly more efficiently than raw allicin. Here is what that means practically.
The antioxidant content of black garlic is approximately twice that of regular garlic. The anti-inflammatory compounds are more stable and more bioavailable. Studies have shown black garlic reduces LDL cholesterol and triglycerides more effectively than raw garlic. Its blood sugar regulating effects are more pronounced. And unlike raw garlic, which many women over 50 find difficult to digest and socially inconvenient, black garlic has a sweet, mild flavor with none of the harsh bite or strong odor. For women over 50 managing cardiovascular health, blood sugar, and chronic inflammation simultaneously, black garlic delivers everything regular garlic promises in a form the body actually uses.
The ancient world aged garlic. They did not know the chemistry. They knew the outcome. They knew that garlic prepared this way tasted better, lasted longer, and worked more effectively. 3,000 years later, a nutritional biochemist would explain exactly why. This is available in most health food stores today. It looks unusual. It is dark, soft, and slightly sweet. Most people walk right past it. Do not walk past it anymore. 5 foods, all of them in scripture, all of them forgotten by modern kitchens, all of them being studied right now by researchers who keep finding the same thing, that the people who ate these foods daily for generations knew something we are only now putting into words. Hyssop for immune support and antimicrobial protection. Pomegranate rind for gut healing and inflammation. Barley for blood sugar, cholesterol, and heart health. Figs for wound healing, hormonal balance, and mineral density. Black garlic for cardiovascular protection and bioavailable antioxidants. You do not need all 5 at once. Start with one, the one that speaks to your biggest health concern right now. Add it to your life this week. Then add another. That is how ancient people ate. Not with a complicated program, not with an expensive supplement stack. With simple, consistent, faithful choices made every single day. If this video gave you something today, something you did not know before, please share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Bible Remedy for a new video every week, where we uncover what ancient scripture and modern science are telling us together about how to live well. God bless you. I will see you in the next one. Which of these 5 foods surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And tell me, are you already eating any of these? I would love to know.